Wilson back again today with another episode of Crafting My Style. And sometimes you run out of exactly the color cardstock you want, so I'm going to show you a handy little tip today on how to create your card using exactly the color you need with some inks. So for today's card, we're using several different dies. I'm going to be using the inside insert from the Vienna in the Austrian collection. To cut my tag, I'm going to be using the Salzburg die out of the same collection. The background from the French collection. And I'm going to show you a beautiful butterfly out of the Magical Butterfly set. So to begin, we're going to start with our background. And I'm going to take just a piece of plain white card, and I'm going to get my embossing mat here, put it onto my plate, and I'm going to just tape this die right into place. And since I've cut the card right to the edge there, it's very handy if you can actually tape it down to the mat. A little bit on each side should do the trick. And we're going to run it through and do some embossing. That'll give you a pretty little detailed look for your card. It'll also help keep the die in place a little bit as we're inking through it. Okay, so let me just get under that. We'll remove our tape. And we're going to do some inking now. So if you were cutting this, all of these areas that you see would actually be cut away, so you wouldn't be able to ink it. But because we've embossed it, we can actually add a little ink there and have it show through. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to just put a little bit more tape right there to hold it in place. I'm going to be using the Shaded Lilac Distress ink. It's one of the newer colors, and it's absolutely gorgeous. A little bit of cut and dry foam. And we're just going to ink right through our die. I like to just work in a circular motion, and that distributes the ink nicely. Let's go all the way around. I also hold the die in place as I work just to make sure it's a little more secure. And you want to make sure that your tape doesn't cut into your design, leaving a void too. And some of these are a little bit smaller, so you have to kind of give it a little bit of extra elbow grease when you get to them to distribute the ink. There we go. That looks pretty good, so let's just take a look. So you can actually look at it and see if you're happy with it, and if not, you can add your die back on and do a little bit more. So you can see I've got nice ink coming through with some of those spots. Like I said, everything you see there probably would have been cut away, so it wouldn't have shown up as much. So next thing I'm going to do, or have already done actually, is I've taken this piece and I've just covered it with the self-adhesive sticky sheet. Now I've trimmed it to size already, so what I'm going to do is we're going to peel the backing off and we're going to coat it on micro beads. Let me just get this started. There we go. And I'm going to dip this in, and it'll just cover up all of that sticky adhesive that's showing. And I want to give it a nice burnish. Make sure it's well stuck. Okay. Set those aside, and you can see you've got a beautiful textural look coming through with the microbeads, but they're clear so you can see right through it. So the next thing I'm going to do is I've cut one of the French collection backgrounds in the white, and I'm going to overlay this. So a little bit of Cosmic Shimmer Dry as Clear Glue, and I'm going to just give it a few seconds to set up once I put that on so it really adheres nicely. You've got the micro beads under there, so you want to make sure that it's a little bit on the tacky side so it sticks nicely to it. So I want to be sure to get glue in all of these major spots. Just takes a few seconds. Let me do this side. And in between all these tiny little areas here so it can stay down really nice. That looks good. Now, if we've missed any major spots, you'll be able to just add it under if you like. So set that to the side for just a second, okay? And in the meantime, what I'm going to do is a bit more inking. Do you remember how I said that we needed cardstock to match? Because I've used the shaded lilac to begin with, I'm going to continue on with the shaded lilac, and I'm going to do a background piece for my die cut. So the edge of this circle, oval, which I've cut with the Salzburg set ahead of time. Just going to do some inking around the edge. So I've got that same color pattern showing through. Okay. Now, because the Distress ink stays wet for a little bit longer, what you need to do is take a heat tool and give it a little blast. Just make sure it's nice and dry. If it's not dry, you'll have a very difficult time getting things to stick to it. That should do it. Okay. Now, underneath all of my stuff, and I'll tell you, this is the other thing, a anti-static pad, if you rub that across the top too, that takes out the moisture so you're sure that it's nice and dry. So I've already cut the inside of the Vienna with the decorative insert, and that's what I'm going to put on top of here. A little bit of glue around the edge and in the center. We'll pop that on there. Make sure I get it all nice and lined up. And I think this has probably had enough time to get nice and tacky, so we'll add that on top. So just center this over, and excuse me for leaning into your view there. I just want to make sure I get it nice and straight. There we go. So see, it sticks really well once you've let it just get tacky for a few seconds. Okay. So now I'm going to show you what else I've done. I wanted a little bit of a border showing, so I went ahead and used my shaded lilac once again on a piece of coconut white card to create a border for this piece. So I've added some mounting foam just to raise it up a little bit for dimension. I'm going to pop this piece into place right in the center there. There we go. And I can even go ahead and put this onto my matted layers behind where I've done a little bit of my paper piercing. I use a piercing ruler for that. So that you've got the base of your card already sorted, all right? So now let's put some mounting foam on the piece that we did earlier. And we'll cut our sentiment. I'm going to put that right into the center there. Let's go this direction. And about like that. That looks good. Now I went ahead and stamped my sentiment, and I am going to be using the center of the Salzburg. It's got some pretty little detail that'll show up nicely. Put this into place. And I like to stamp first and then tape my die into place over it. There we go. And I don't want to have my tape cutting into it because I'll have a void when I go to ink. So I'll just catch the edge of that. And let's grab our cutting plate. Top it with our base plate. And I tell you what else we can do while we're doing that. Let's go ahead and cut our butterfly. Now I've gone ahead and done the shaded lilac once again to a little spot there. And I'm going to use our side view butterfly out of the Magical Butterfly set. So pretty, very, very detailed and delicate. Pop that on there, and we'll run them through. Let me check the butterfly and make sure that all of it is cut. Looks beautiful. And I'm going to do some inking on this one first. Bring back my shaded lilac with the cut and dry foam. Real lightly around the edge there, just to highlight that sentiment. And you can see where the tape creates that void like I was speaking about earlier. So make sure it's not going into your die cut area. Yeah, that looks nice. And if you want it a little heavier, you can add a bit on extra. I always recommend going around it first with one coat, and then if you wanted a little deeper, adding a second coat to it. There we go. So you can see the absolutely gorgeous detail on that. Really, really pretty. And I'm going to put a little piece of mounting foam on the back of that. We'll add it into the center of the card for our focal element. And let's get our butterfly. Now I went ahead and cut one earlier, and what I like to do with this side view butterfly, I'll show you, is just to double it up so you get a really pretty three-dimensional looking butterfly. Let me just peel this out carefully. And I've got a couple little pieces just to take out. Quite a bit of detail in this one, he's stunning. So the way I do this is I add some glue to just the body part, right like that. And you can even put a little bit on the antenna. Now if you like, you can just snip off the bottom ones. I think it makes it a little stronger if you add a little bit of glue on them and then double them up. And then I'm just going to put the two together. Let me line those antennae up really nice and neatly. Oops. There we go. Give that a second. And I've added some glue along the edge of the first one here and put a little bit of ice snow just to kind of catch a little glint. And there. And you can give this top layer just a little bend. Really makes it three-dimensional. Oops, hold on, let me get my antenna straight there for you. Okay, and we'll put a little bit of glue on him. Seat him right off the edge. There we go. And I've added a messy bow out of some royal blue seam binding with a little crystal dazzler in the center, and I'm going to use a glue dot. Seat that onto the corner of the die cut down here. Pretty little accent. And a couple of pretty stick pins that I've made using some pearls and some little faux crystals. Push those right into place underneath my bow. There we go. And the other thing, if you want, you can add some pearls down the center of the body on the butterfly, maybe some pearls in the corner, but you know, just a little bit of added extra embellishment is all it needs, and you've got a lovely, lovely card.